Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage, and when people ask me about my favorite directors, I always give three names: Alfred Hitchcock, Billy Wilder, and my number one, Frank Capra. My biggest passion in movies is the classic Hollywood studio system, and these three have produced some of the best films ever made, and each one of them speaks to me so much. Now, Capra's most beloved film and the obvious choice for my first review of one of his films would definitely be his 1946 Christmas classic, It's a Wonderful Life. My personal favorite is probably his 1939 powerhouse, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. But instead I chose a movie that I have seen only once before, but that is available on the Criterion Channel streaming service right now. Now that I went back for it, I simply couldn't believe how much I loved it. You Can't Take It With You is a 1938 romantic comedy drama starring Jean Arthur, Lionel Barrymore, Jimmy Stewart and Edward Arnold. It was based on the original play by Moss Hart and George S. Kaufman, which won the 1937 Pulitzer Prize for Drama and which was still running on Broadway when the film opened. The adapted screenplay was written by Robert Riskin, who was a longtime collaborator of Capra. You Can't Take It With You is one of the most wonderful, charming and magical motion pictures you can imagine. It's a pure delight, and if you have an affinity for this kind of good-hearted, passionate human comedies, there's a high chance you will be totally charmed by Capra's ability to create movie magic. The story couldn't be more fitting to his kind of cinema. The movie sits in at Wall Street, where the successful banker Anthony P. Kirby, played with so much gravitas by Edward Arnold, has just returned with some pretty good news from Washington DC. At least good news for him. The details aren't that important. Let's just say he's very rich and about to get even richer by buying up a neighborhood. His only problem: one house isn't willing to be sold, and that house belongs to Grandpa Vanderhoff, played by Lionel Barrymore. I think most people will know Barrymore primarily from his iconic performance as the movie's villain, Mr. Potter in It's a Wonderful Life. There he plays a soulless capitalist who is only after money. His role in You Can't Take It With You is the complete opposite. From the very first moment he is on screen, you get absolutely charmed by his warm, inviting and kind nature. His first scene is with the banker Poppins, played by the wonderful character actor Donald Meek. Vanderhoff realizes that Poppins' true passion doesn't lie in being a banker, but in making animated toys, and he convinces him to pursue his dreams instead. Right there at that moment, at only a few minutes into the film, its whole message and DNA get revealed. But before we talk about that, let me finish the basic synopsis, because I haven't even talked about the other two stars of the film, Jean Arthur and Jimmy Stewart, who happens to be my favorite actor of all time. This marks the very first collaboration of Stewart and Capra, who only made two other films together, but those two are so big that their partnership stands as a very special one. The year after, they did Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and after the war in 1946, It's a Wonderful Life. Overall, it's definitely Lionel Barrymore who puts his stamp on You Can't Take It With You, but Stewart fits right in with his playful, youthful energy. He plays the son of the banker Anthony P. Kirby, Tony Kirby, the vice president of the company, and he has fallen in love with the secretary Alice Sycamore, played by Jean Arthur, and they decided to get married. She, on the other hand, is the granddaughter of Lionel Barrymore's character, so both of them come from very different families and social backgrounds, and bringing their parents together to meet each other is a crucial point of the story. Tony's snobbish parents are quite opposed to the idea of their son dating a mere secretary, and Alice's family is just very much to handle, because the house of Grandpa Vanderhoff isn't just home to her, but to a lot of different family members and close friends, and they are all pretty eccentric. All the scenes in that house play like a great sitcom, with the absolute comedic climax being the moment when Tony's parents arrive there. It's a laugh-out-loud moment, and it doesn't calm down either. Poor Mr. Kirby even gets picked up by the Russian dance teacher Kolenkov in a playful attempt to wrestle. It's all quite hilarious, and not one single second of it is mean-spirited. And even the rich Mr. Kirby isn't just shown as a one-note, money-hungry villain. Over the course of the movie, he slowly becomes one of the most interesting and human characters, and also the one the title holds most meaning for. Because no matter how much wealth and success in business one acquires, in the end, you can't take it with you. And the film's message is to live your life instead, not to focus on making the most money, but to chase your dreams, to surround yourself with family and friends, and to be kind to one another. The German title is pretty on point as well. Here it was called Lebenskünstler, life artist. And Grandpa Vanderhoff and all the people that live in his house are life artists. They spend their time doing the things they enjoy. Sure, in the society they and also we live in, that pretty much also means they aren't very high on the social ladder because they don't make a lot of money, but they enjoy life and they enjoy each other's company, and maybe that's more important in the end. You Can't Take It With You is more than 80 years old, but its message still rings true, and I'm certain and optimistic that the coming decades will bring some change, and hopefully people realize that life isn't just about working as much as we can until we die, but live life to the fullest and the way it brings you joy and happiness. And this prospect is also what Jimmy Stewart's character Tony seems to be drawn to. It's very different from the way he was brought up, but he realizes that it won't bring him happiness to become a banker. He is shown as quite amused by the way Alice's family is living, but he's not ridiculing them, but secretly admiring their free spirits, I think. I think it is so wonderful that Alice's mother Penny isn't asking their guests how their business is going, but instead what their hobbies are. Because isn't that much more important when you want to get to know a person? And the chemistry between James Stewart and Jean Arthur is absolutely adorable. I could watch those two just talk and interact for hours, and both have these very distinct voices that I just love. There's a long sequence in the film that shows them on a date, and at first they are just sitting together in a park and talking about their lives, and Tony's opening up about his true passion. It is done in one long continuous shot that lasts for almost 5 minutes. And I honestly think it wasn't so much the idea to make this impressive long shot, but it was rather just a way to do scenes like this in the 1930s. You Can't Take It With You is a film from Hollywood's golden age, and while hundreds or even 1,000 movies were produced that were just absolutely mediocre, when everything clicked together, it really clicked, and you get these magical movies of which you think they simply don't make them like this anymore. When the direction, production design, the performances, the message, music, structure, camera work and everything else complement each other. And for me, this is such a case. Frank Capra was really on a roll in the 30s. Not only did You Can't Take It With You win the Oscars for Best Picture and Best Director, but it was actually Capra's third Best Director win in just 5 years. 2 years prior, he has won for Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, and 2 years prior to that for It Happened One Night. Of course, I also highly recommend those two. I could talk about the movie much longer, but I think you get the idea. So in German I'd say, Lebenskünstler ist pure Capra Kinomagie. Idealistisch, optimistisch, inspirierend, zutiefst menschlich und unglaublich witzig ebenso. Klassisches Hollywood vom Feinsten. I give You Can't Take It With You 9 out of 10. It's more like 9.4, but I don't do that. Alright, that's it like always. Comment below and let me know what you think about You Can't Take It With You. And also let me know what is your favorite film by Frank Capra. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Letterboxd, and now also on Patreon, simply at The Jimmy Cage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.